Brand. So in every episode of Better Brand, I'll go over the puzzle and the title. For example, in today's episode, I'll go over the pyramids, and then I'll go over all of the brands that I have of that puzzle. I will then go over all of the brands, and then at the end, I will say which one is the better brand, hence the name Better Brand. So today, I'll be going over the Mosey, the QJ, and the Shengshou pyramids. You can find the Mosey pyramid for $2.99 at 51 More Fun. You can find the QJ pyramid for $3.99 at 51 More Fun, and the Shengshou pyramid for $7.40 at E3 Cube Store. And the only box that I have is the Shengshou pyramids box. I guess I threw away my other boxes, but this is what you'll get with this puzzle right here. Pretty cool box, standard Shengshou with white and red. And here you can see the mechanism, and I'll be going over that later. And so yeah, there's the box. Now let's get on to the turning of all these pyramids. Okay, so all of these pyramids have a very different feel to it. Now the Mosey feels really tight and very loose, and it feels like it's going to break any minute now, or any second. So it's really rough, it's really hard to turn. Even with some lube, it won't make it that much better. So as you can see, I'm struggling with turning this. And so just turning on the Mosey is horrible. I'll probably be making fun of this Mosey puzzle the whole time just because it's a horrible puzzle. Next is QJ. This is an excellent pyramid. It has ball bearings, as you can hear. And you can see right there. And it is very smooth, it's very snappy, just like most pyramids. However, this one is not. This one's just rough. It's a little bit rough. It's not as smooth as the Shengshou, which I'll go over in a second. But it still is a little bit smooth. And it has a very nice feel to it. If you want a great cheap pyramids, great turning, I'd recommend this. Now the Shengshou, it's about double the price of the QJ, and about 3 times or 2.5 times more than the price of the Mosey. And I think that it is worth it. This puzzle is super snappy, it's super stable. Turning is really smooth. I could pretty much turn it with the one finger right here. And it is just very smooth, and I don't even think I've lubed this yet. And even without lube, it is one of the best pyramids I've ever turned. So now let's get on to corner cutting. Corner cutting is not the greatest on any of these puzzles. Mosey just sucks. Mosey just horrible. QJ, about there. However, the ball bearings on both of these puzzles make it so that you don't have to ever overturn it, which would require a corner cutting move, because the ball bearings make it stay in place. And the Shengshou. Again, corner cutting is not a big thing on pyramids because most of them have ball bearings, and so when I turn it, it always goes back to the same spot. You never overturn it, because you always turn it with your whole hand. You never really turn it with a finger because it's hard to get a good grip on it like that. So corner cutting is not that important. Now let's get into lockups and pops. Okay, so this Mosey does not ever lock up, or it does lock up a lot. It rarely does not lock up. And it actually has not popped because I don't solve it, because it is a horrible puzzle. That's all I have to say for the Mosey. Don't get this puzzle. QJ, I maybe have experienced one pop because I made it a little bit too loose. I was kind of experimenting with the tensions, and one of these pieces, one of the edges came out. And I'll show you guys the pieces in a second and how they can come out, or I'll show you now. So this is how it comes out. You just pull it out, and putting it in isn't that hard. So no lockups, no pops, or rarely does this ever pop. On the Shengshou, it just never pops. It is super stable. Well-built puzzle. It's definitely one of Shengshou's best products, and a bunch of other cubers could agree with me when I say that. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over all the caps, and then I'll go into the internal mechanism of all of these pyramids. This is the Mosey, and the cap looks like this. It's got this thing sticking out, and you put it in like that, and you're done. And these are pretty much the same. Just this one's a triangle, this one's a circle. And here's how they fit in. You can see the circle one goes into the screw, kind of. And this one just fits snugly around the screw. And the QJ was actually the hardest one to get off. And also, these are pretty sharp when you turn these. You can maybe stab someone or cut yourself with this. Don't stab someone, please, with this. And it's sharp on most puzzles. So actually, the shank shell is kind of round, as you can see. And the QJ, still kind of pointy, so just be careful with that. And also, this is kind of sharp too, as you can see. Yeah. Okay, so now let's get into the internal mechanism. Alright, so first let's take a look at the mosey internal pieces. So when you take this off, you can see the core and the edges. And so on the edges, there's not really anything holding it back. Like, you could easily pull that out. There's nothing really holding it in. And so when it is against this, it is very easy to pull out because there's not much holding it there. And also, something interesting about the mosey is that there is no ball bearings. Instead, there is this tab right there. There, you can see it better in the dark. There's a tab right there, and so every time it passes by, it kind of moves the tab and it kind of holds it in place. But not as well as ball bearings do. And so here is just look at the core. And now let's get on to the QJ. Okay, so now let's take a look at the QJ. So the core is a little bit different. Let's first take a look at that. Now in this one, in the QJ, there are ball bearings which hold it in place as you turn it, so it doesn't overturn or underturn, and they fit into these little grooves. And as you can see right here, there's a little bit less that's holding the edge back when it is against like the main part of the puzzle. There's a little bit less holding it back, but because of the ball bearings that go into the grooves, it's a little bit more like stable because of the ball bearings. And the screw is pretty big, just realized that. And let's take a look at one of the ball bearings actually. Here is the ball bearing out. Let's see if we can get it out. Yeah. Okay, so it's just like a little metal ball. Nothing special. And it goes in there, and then there is a spring. See if I can focus. See, there's a spring in there. And you can push it in. So as you turn it, it pushes in, and then it goes into one of the grooves as the groove goes over it. So it's a little bit more stable than the mosey. And so now let's get on to the shank shell. Okay, so now let's take a look at the shank shell pyramids. So as we take off the edges, we can see the core and the ball bearings. It looks like a little bit better plastic. That's one reason why I love this puzzle. And it also has ball bearings, as I mentioned before. And what's different about these edges compared to the other two pyramids is that there's so much more holding it back when it's actually in place. So when it's like this, there's so much more holding it back. So it's impossible to pop, pretty much. So take a little closer look. So there's so much more holding it back that it is really unpoppable, and that is one of the reasons I love it. And also the ball bearings right here are another reason why it's really hard to pop. Alright, so the stickers on the mosey they're actually holding it pretty well. I haven't really solved it that many times, so I wouldn't really know if it chips, but so far it has not. I like the shades. I like the blue, I like the yellow and the green, how I can actually tell the difference between the two, unlike another puzzle which I'll show you guys later. The only confusion is the green and red. It might look a little bit similar to me since I'm colorblind, and I will have my colorblind video up within 2 weeks. I promise you guys that. I'm sorry for the delay on that video, but sticker quality is great on this. Then on the QJ, it's kind of dark, kind of dull. Let me compare the blues on all of them. You can definitely tell this is darker than the shank shell and everything else. The yellow looks kind of dull, and the red, everything looks just really dark on this. It's holding it very well. I really do like the rounded stickers. Makes it have like a more playful look to it, I guess. This round usually looks like more playful. Alright, so the stickers on the shank shell are very bright, very vivid, and they just pop out. The only problem I have with it is that yellow and green look kind of similar to me, since I'm colorblind. But other than that, I love the light blue. I love the brightest red, the bright orangish red. I love the yellow. The only problem is I wish the green was a little bit darker. Maybe more like this. Alright, so the size on all three Pyraminxes, the Mosey, QJ, and ShengShou, are all the same. They're approximately 84 millimeters. I just measured it using this. It's kind of hard to tell, but rough estimate, it's 80 to 85 millimeters, somewhere around there, all three of them. And so now let's get on to my final recommendations and which one I think is the better brand. Alright, so two of the three Pyraminxes are pretty good. The Mosey one is out, so that is not the better brand. Horrible turning, horrible corner cuts. It always locks up. It doesn't pop because I never really solve it because it sucks. So then we're left with these two. So these two, this one's about double the price of this. And this one, the ShengShou, has better plastic, better stickers, better turning, better corner cutting, even though it doesn't really matter. And it's just a lot smoother. So in my opinion, the better brand of these two, of these three actually, is the ShengShou. And that is because the turning is just magnificent. And it's really smooth. The tips, very smooth as well. And it's just a great solve. It's really fun to solve. It's really snappy. And I like snappy cubes, just like my Guhong V2, my Algo one. It's very snappy, and I love it. And this puzzle is very snappy too. I love the sticker shades. It's very vibrant, very colorful. And so I just think that this is the better brand. If you want to get a really great Pyraminx that's a little bit cheaper, I would recommend getting the QJ. It's great. I would have to recommend you guys change the tensions because it's a little bit tight out of the box. The ShengShou is perfect out of the box. You lube it with anything and it'll be like 10 times better. I have yet to do that, but I'm going to do that after this video is over. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Better Brand, my first episode of the Pyraminxes. Again, there's the Mosey, the QJ, and the ShengShou, and the ShengShou was the better brand in my opinion. In every single better brand, just remember it is my opinion. It's not fact. I'm just saying what I think is the better brand. So I don't want any arguments in the comments. If you have any suggestions of what I could do better or what you guys enjoyed, please leave the comments below letting me know. I really would like your feedback on this because it's my first episode and I'm not really sure how it went. So I need you guys, all my viewers and subscribers, to let me know how I did on this first episode, and also let me know what puzzle you would want next. I will have a list of all the puzzles I'm planning on doing in the description. So just let me know which one you want me to do next, and I will hopefully be able to do that. I can't really do the cube one right now.